All right.
Yep.
So we have a nice group. We have about 56 people here, which makes me nervous that you're expecting some quality things that we are going to share with you. A lot of things today. But the beauty of it is it's going to be recorded, and also we are going to share the slide deck, which will have a lot of the resources that I'm talking about. So as we give you a lot of information, we just kind of want you to have the big picture and kind of process all that and think, oh, these are these possibilities. Maybe you've used them, maybe you haven't, maybe you're like, wow, maybe I can get that going, because there's a lot of things here. And then what we're hoping is that you'll be able to, you know, take some of this that you're hearing today and then come to us for more smaller resources or more training in that one area, because, you know, interactive slides in Google is huge. And for us to go over every single possibility today is, you know, not going to happen, but you're going to get a lot of great ideas with a lot of resources. And I'm going to start by sharing some of the resources right now with you. So let me get to my screen. Okie dokie. There we go. Oh, you know what I do? Not really a zoomer. Okay. I'll do it this way. All right, here we go. And just give me somebody shout out. Perfect. Okay, so my wingman, Michael, and my wingwoman, Lauren, they may chime in or they may not with different things that we're going to go over and see. But we're going to talk about these tips to help us, you know, build lessons, which take forever. And I think many of you saw that when you try to get your curriculum from, you know, paper, booklets, PDFs, to try to make them interactive with the students. And it was a challenge and ridiculously time consuming. So I'm sure we've had many of these kind of moments like lately, because you know, it's been very overwhelming. Things have been unknown. What is our hybrid going to look like? How are we going to be, you know, doing things? We don't have devices day one. So, you know, here we're hoping that we have curated a really great collection of information for you to make things a little bit more streamlined and a little bit easier when you are creating. So one of the upsides, which, you know, you never hear of the coronavirus, is that we are all in the same boat, nationally, globally. And this has caused every educator to not only have lots more anxiety, but to be creators of content in ways we've never seen. So in the past, before we were thrown into the 21st century, where everybody had to now learn how to use all this technology and all the different websites and all the different things, there were many really great curators and people innovating with technology in ways that we were hoping as a district we would move to. And then through this pandemic, you know, we all got forced into it, little training, we're trying to train, everybody's working around the clock. And, you know, we're trying to get a gist of how things work and how do these learning managements work and how can I engage my students and all this craziness. But now, you know, we have a world all over the place of educators sharing their amazing resources for free. And yes, there are those that are capitalizing on TBT, but teachers pay teachers, but I'd say, you know, that's also pretty great because there's a lot of work that goes into it. But what I want to share with you is different ways that educators are sharing things and links to all of those things, templates, ideas, for you to kind of go through and take a quick look at. And even though there's so much out there, I'm going to kind of give you a couple of things to consider in people to look at and follow, templates to look at and follow. And then when you take a look at this information as we're going through some of it together, and then maybe some of it you'll look on your own, you might say, you know what, Michael, Lauren, you know, Judith, I need some, you know, guidance on how do I use Google Slides to make, you know, some activities using the master slide and other things, because to go through all of that today with everything that we could offer you is just too much. And that's what we're here for, because we're better together. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel, which we had to do. A lot of us had to start from scratch. We had to figure out, how do I get this PDF? How do kids write on it? Should I use Kami? Do the kids know how to use Kami? And I think for a lot of us, it was so overwhelming for us and kids. And I think everyone did such an amazing job. It was pretty amazing to see what you were all capable of doing. And then some of us are switching grade levels or positions, and we might not have even done any of this. So now you're like, what? This is, overwhelming again. The whole process is overwhelming, but these resources I'm going to share with you can really ease the edge of what you need to do. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just are going to remix it. Okay. And I mean, I think that's something that we've all been doing. Or, great teachers share a lot of their resources. We rely on one another in our school district, in our tech team, in our, our groups or your co-colleagues, whoever, to work on things and to take ideas, and sometimes we remix them in certain ways. And I saw that last year, so many of you were working that way, where somebody was focusing on the math in grade 3, and then someone was on the reading, and someone was on the foundations, and so on and so on. And together, you made that curriculum better, stronger, and motivational for many of the students. So we're going to show a couple of different things today, and how you can find this content that you can just remix to your needs. And then you might say things like, you know what, I need an amazing lesson on place value for grade 2. One of our passions in the tech team for most of us is we're big curators of content. And for me, I'll speak for me, like, I don't binge watch Netflix. I binge watch Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, because not only were there amazing people sharing things for anyone to use, but now it's like every time I just even glance at my news feed, I'm favoriting, saving, and putting things into my Google Drive to share with all of you. So that's something that I think is easy for us to do as the tech team, because we're so used to doing that. And we're also a little bit used to, because we wear many hats, creating content. So that's why after hearing today's presentation, we hope that you'll say, you know what, I would like a small group of how we're gonna, create choice boards or whatever other things that you're going to see. So I think you might be familiar with some of the people. I don't know who's on Twitter and who's not, but Twitter is a social media site that I use for my PLN. I mean, it has been for years my favorite. I don't use it to, tweet to celebrities or, post to friends. This is an educator's world in Twitter. There are 3 educators I've been following for quite some time, and you might now know their name because they've gone from probably 2,000 followers to 10K because of the content and the amazing things that they do and share. And the interesting part is that many of them are educators in the classroom and have their own class, which you think, how would you have your own class and you're balancing all this and you're sharing out this incredible stuff for free for everybody? And they do. And I think that's what makes them special too, is because they really know, the content and what's pedagogically appropriate for, different grade levels and so on. So the 3 people, if you don't follow them, when you click on this slide deck, when you get it, you can follow these 3 people, Nadine, the first one, Wilkinson, Eric Curtis, and the history of Sandoval. Nadine does a lot of elementary, I would say, to middle school. Eric does pretty much lots of things, and mostly templates and really cool how-tos. And I mean, when you see the Sandoval stuff, she's a high school teacher, and your mind is blown, like, how do you create this? And it almost makes me wish I were in her class, because social studies wasn't my favorite type of subject in high school, but now as an educator, I find it different. But really, shout out, and I think you should follow if you don't, just because of the educators there. Facebook, many of us do Facebook because we like to catch up with our, friends, family when we're busy and we don't have much of a life because we're always planning and doing work. But these 3 groups, and there are probably 50 more I could recommend to you, are some of the best PD that I could ever ask for, because not only do they share all their documents for free, but they share their videos, and then they share their this, or they put, you know, they have a TPT store, but they're putting all of this for free. And it's unreal. The teaching with Neons is amazing. I mean, this is a lot of educators of all grade levels, and I mean, the bit emoji, which we'll talk about, is super hot. Excuse me, guys. And they have just, like, you can ask a question like, did anybody put out a lesson on, you know, exponents? And people just are helping and supporting. And some people are like, oh, you know, frustrated, and they're supporting. It's amazing. The Global Educator Collective is amazing. And you're going to get a lot of resources from all over the world and a lot of updates. And that's who I actually was following to see how schools were opening up across the globe before, you know, they started in the States. And they just have a lot of great information, resources, and now lessons, because many schools have opened up and they're sharing, you know, what their first day looks like, or what they're doing their first day, and or their first week, and the Bitmoji craze for educators is probably one of the most popular, because it is helping educators everywhere make interactive classrooms. And if you decide to go down that rabbit hole, I warn you, it is a lot of fun, but once again, a lot of work. So instead of starting all of this from scratch, like, yo, I saw the Bitmoji classroom, I want to try that. You don't need to, you know, start from scratch, because everyone's sharing amazing wealth. So I'm going to model for you a little bit on what that is. So taking a look at the Bitmoji classrooms, they are classrooms that teachers are making to house things in one place with one click. So there's a couple of ways that they're doing that. They're either putting it in their Google Classroom, so the kids build that fluency of getting into the classroom, and putting that up on the top, like pinning it without putting it under any kind of heading, and the kids know, start there. And, you know, a lot of the things that I'm telling you about, it takes time and practice for the littles, you know, to build that fluency. But it's kind of been exciting, because kids now, like, are home, but yet they have this classroom to come to. And teachers and educators are making it unreal. So what sometimes they're doing is they might just have one screen, and on that screen might be a welcome message, and it might be an, you know, things that we're doing today, and here's our Google Meet. And I will show you examples of that. For my classroom for here, I wanted to link it to templates for you and little Easter eggs, and the kids love that. When Easter eggs is when there are hidden things in the room that, like, might bring you to an interactive activity. This room is filled with so much clickables, and that's really great, and it's exciting, because I know you as educators know how to, like, click on various things. As a classroom teacher, I might put 1 or 2 clickables and add more as we kind of build a fluency with the kids on, you know, what to do. Other people are making actual Google sites, and that's something else if anyone's interested in learning more about, and I will show you some examples, where it's basically in Google Classroom, boom, they click on their Google site the teacher made, the Bitmoji classrooms in there, parent portal, student portal, and all the links are there to, you know, help students and parents navigate seamlessly without clicking, figuring out, where does this go, where does that go? And again, baby steps for a lot of this to happen, but we don't have to reinvent the wheel with creating it, because people are just generously teaching you videos. You don't even, you know, need us if going further after you take a look. So when you get the slide deck, I have it right now in a presentation mode, and you'll notice that my cursor can click over any of these things when it turns into a hand. And what that actually means is that I have linked for you various activities for you to have. I'm going to get out of presentation mode right now. Mostly when you are presenting this to students, you might keep it in the presentation mode, because they cannot link anything, move anything. They could just click on links. But for demonstration purposes, I wanted to show you. Are my kids really, like, annoying you with that sound in the background? Nice. The struggle of working from home. Okay. So if in here, when they click on it, you'll notice that, you know, this would link to for you as a educator, like, oh, look, practice social distancing. And you could go and make a copy of this and change to your avatar, and your Bitmoji, and you could have it. So all of these things that I'm not going to show you, every clip, but, if you've been looking for a calendar that maybe you want to have, or that you either share or you keep personally to help yourself organize, that's up to you. There are so many people making these crazy interactive calendars. And really, they give them to you. They say, make a copy, or they force a copy. If you know what that means, great. If you don't, we could explain that further. But so you can own it. And then, they put in their school, but what you could change, but they've already done most of the work for you. And so basically, this could be a calendar that the kids can always refer to, or you can have this calendar in your files that you always refer to for planning, or as a group, you could share this file and you guys could plan together, linking lessons that you guys want to do. The possibilities are endless and mind-blowing, could feel a little overwhelming, but the point is that everybody's, sharing all of this, and 25 free different versions of it. I'm giving you one. I have probably 25 more I could share with you, but I just want to get you guys to get an idea of, what people are doing. People are sharing their Bitmoji classrooms. So they are, saying, oh, I made a summer innovation. So here, if you have summer school, use this, put your Bitmoji in it, and everything in here is clickable and linkable, and so on. And so a lot of these links that I'm showing you link outside to websites, okay? So most of them link outside to websites. So it would remind somebody, if you put, you put a little map there that was the makerspace, and then the kids would know to click on that and go there. Now, building your Bitmoji class really would start with a couple of things where the kids get used to it. But as I keep speaking, and I'm going to talk about a lot of it, and then we can explore things further together in smaller groups, it's really fun and it's exciting, and it's ridiculously fun to make as a kid, as an educator. So the kids aren't necessarily making these Bitmoji classrooms, but there are some really great activities you can have them make, which I will explain in a bit. So you'll notice that in here, there's lots of different things. There's a regular read. I put somebody who made a ridiculous amount of read aloud books. And so this, if you wanted this and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make a Bitmoji classroom and I'm going to link this, you could put your Bitmoji in here and you would still have access to ridiculous amount of books that every time you click on them, they're linked to either Epic or, you would obviously take a look at what they're linked to, but they're linked to either free videos online or, permission-based information. And this is not just for the elementary. This goes from middle to high school. There are some educators that have made incredible stuff for all grade levels. Just saying that, I know that the Bitmoji kind of really attracts like the interest of the kids. And so not only can you use it to link information that you want them to get to easier, you can even go further and link it to content that you want them to make or create. But you can explore this further, because when we give it to you, every single thing on here has a link to mostly a template you can use. Then I have way more templates for you, but we will talk about that later because I don't want to overwhelm you too much. But like, look at Target. I mean, Target people are just awesome. And so somebody made, did I link the right one? Maybe I did. Oh, here's Target. So somebody made for, I don't know what purpose, and maybe there's something, but Bitmoji Target with interactive things there. So it's pretty fun stuff, and they have different, and you would have to explore, because honestly, when you go onto some of these, you're like, what did this person make? And they're linking it to this. One of my favorites is, because I am a Starbucks fan, is Starbucks. And I know some of the library media specialists or some classroom teachers actually did. I think I saw some on your Twitter feed of Starbucks in the classroom, and people bringing, Starbucks cups. But like right now, you have a Starbucks. So if you were talking about a certain genre, or maybe kids were doing a book club, you might just have a link to this Starbucks, and they could pick, you know, you would have to make a little bit more, put in the books that, you know, interest you, but you could use this template as well. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. If you are a fan of superheroes, people make Avenger themed classrooms, and they already made them. So anything in the classroom can either be deleted or added, and you don't necessarily have to start from scratch. You guys basically have to say, would I want a link to Code Studio as a tech person? Yeah, that's a good one for me. And anything can be moved around and done. And this is something that these teachers are doing. So I'm going to show you a couple more. For example, for phys ed, there are people making gymnasiums. There are people making things like, you know, a Netflix learning of gym activities, you know, for kids to choose from. So if they were saying you're taking a brain break, you can go to the Netflix, you know, and so on. And this is something that you just kind of build with your children, meaning teaching them how to, you know, click on things and navigate that classroom, 1 to 2 links at a time. And for you, you know, Hamilton fans, there are people who make, you know, not just like, oh, here's a Hamilton room. This particular one is of the lyric analysis. And, you know, that might be something in an English class that maybe there are things that you would look through this. You can customize it to your needs. And now you have half of it done so that you can share that out as well. And even though I'm giving you a lot of templates, they don't all have to be, you know, used in a classroom. Bitmoji. I just thought it was a fun way to deliver a lot of these things to you so that you, with a couple of clicks, you could have one of these and you can make a copy so it goes into your drive. And then you can determine, you know, what to do with it. There's mindful rooms, there's tons of different, you know, fun. And I try to find some of the best that I thought were like ones I would use with my classroom. And in this Bitmoji class, which is pretty fun. I mean, they have Eric Carl's my favorite, and what's her name that writes with him? Oh, gosh, I'm losing it. Oh, Susan Verdi, right? We tried to get her in one day into the school back last year. But and then this one, you know, like this activity can link to a Jamboard that you know, you work with the kids on, and they talk about what they are after reading some books by these authors. And, you know, I know that Jamboard is something many of us like, but they can, you know, an example. But the point is, I'm showing you a lot, and you wouldn't do all this at once, ever, because you would overwhelm everybody and so on. But you might say, oh, today we're, you know, for social emotional, you might just have this activity. Maybe it's your teaching, and then that's also linked in the classroom as an assignment. And now they click on the assignment, they know to click on the book, read it, and then do an IM, you know, themselves. And all this can be, you know, changed and edited, but most of the time you don't even really need to. All I did was put my Bitmoji in there. I mean, somebody else made it, sent it out, and a lot of these teachers also tell you how to, you know, use this slide. Oh my gosh.
I also noticed
these kids.
All good.
You know what? I'm going to mute for a second, Michael, and just say your comments so I can just grab them.
So let me make sure you're muted, Judith.
Mute me, or you know what?
I'll mute you. I did it. So what I notice about these interactive classrooms, they're really, really like out there. They're engaging a lot. And I find it more like a scavenger hunt. You can make it that way, where like when you're presenting it, it's like they have to search for the thing to click on. Or I mean, I don't know if Judith has any examples of this, but you can like GIFs of arrows or circles saying click here for whatever it is. Yeah,
I didn't do that in this one because as an adult, like my audience was adult, I was just like, let me show you that this is actually going to be, I guess, to stop yelling and talking. what do you call it? It's really fun. I mean, there are a lot of kids who used to come to me and say, "Oh, did you see the Google Easter egg?" Which are hidden things. They love it. And so many of these things don't always have to be, activities. And I didn't do it because I thought it was fun for people to click on and explore, like what happens when you click on the hand sanitizer, right? And now you have a room all about, let's learn about staying healthy. And some of these things are really just videos and books, maybe no activity linked, but you could always link an activity to this. So you can see that there's lots of staying healthy, and one of the fun back to school activities that doesn't require any technology was this art teacher who's insane and amazing. And they make those, I'm not gonna play it, but those face masks. So you're wearing it, but now you pull it up and now you see yourself. And there's so many people sharing so many fun things. So if you wanted this, you could save this and just use it separately. So I'll talk a little bit more now about when you go in that room, have fun exploring, and most of it are slides you can keep and make a copy of. If you see one that you wanted and it doesn't let you, because maybe my settings, usually I try to check them and ask someone else to check them, but then I'll make sure that I change that setting. For the most part, it should be good. Now, here's a teacher who spent most of their summer, and there are many of them on these sites, that decided they were going to make a virtual room for everything. So what happens is usually the teacher doesn't necessarily, she might present to the class during a meeting and explain and show, but most teachers will put this link in Google Classroom as a published to the web. And what that does is it makes it available for the kids to look at, like that. And I'm sure some of you might know this and some of you might not, but it makes it available. So if the kids went into Google Classroom and they click on there and boom, they have like, oh, Mrs. Fleming, 2nd grade. Again, Mrs. Fleming is giving you all this for free. She made all this, and you're thinking how and when, but some people get like into this and then get addicted, and it is a lot of fun, but it's also, it could be a lot of like, there's a lot of steps. So now, if you notice this, Mrs. Fleming, the kids can't actually go to some of the other slides on this without clicking into different parts. And that's something else we could talk about further if you're interested in doing Bitmoji rooms. You would say, oh, let's get a class together, or, something. But she has like, welcome to 2nd grade. And look, there's a flexible seating room back that got taken away. And, so she might just give them these two and say, okay, so how we get into our classroom and what do some of these things mean for us? And you'll notice that when you click around, she has different letters and so on. And she links almost everything that she wants and needs from one, slide to the next. And, that's pretty crazy and exciting, but it's also a lot of work. But if she's already done most of it for you and she's sharing it, saying like, take it for your needs, then that's what the beauty is that now we have educators all over who are in the same boat saying, we're in this together, and I here, take it. I didn't mind doing it. It was a labor of love, but it's amazing. So she's able to share out different things and teach. You'd have to teach your group how you navigate, go home, come back into class. What does this mean? And then so she's got some information here. And some people make it very organized. For some of you, when looking at this, you might go, this is a little too chaotically organized for me, but you never know. So there are just so many teachers doing this stuff that you have a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to give you an example, though, of a teacher who made one in kindergarten, and then she made a Google site. So this is what parents get in their Remind. This is what the kids get in their Seesaw notes. This is where the kids go every day. And you'll notice that right now she's got just a picture of her class. It's not interactive. There's nothing to click on. And she's got, a student portal's information and a parent portal. This is another way that people are sharing these rooms, is they're just making these sites, which again, people are sharing how-tos and headers and these buttons right here, all of this. And then what happens is they learn to go to their daily schedule as, you know, a regular schedule. And then they go to, you know, the student portal, either through clicking there, or, you know, come here to click student portal. And then, you know, these are the websites they use. And if you click on it, you see, these are her classrooms that she uses. And so she kind of kept them separate and created 3 classrooms. And this will link to many things, but this classroom is just all about the alphabets. And this classroom is all about, you know, using numbers and books about numbers and so on. And this one is their iReady room. And you'd be amazed how many people did Engage New York rooms. I mean, with modules, it's unreal, like what people have made. And, you know, she probably, as a kindergarten, will take 1 or 2 at a time and, you know, exploring, what does this bring you to? Or here's your lesson. So the kids kind of learn how to do that. The parent portal, many people are using very similar things for the parent portal, like, you know, contact info and newsletter, everything in kind of one place with a couple of clicks. But just like all of us, once we build a fluency with how to do things and then have our kids do that, it's similar too. So, but they also are sharing all of this to show you, like, hey, I did this and you can do this too. And there's so many different things that people are making, and they're just sharing it for you to copy and use and remix it for yourself. So, as you know, it's a lot. And then all these keys actually have rooms for different grades that I thought were pretty good, as using actual sites to house their classrooms, you know, their meetings, and their assignments. And I also find that even if you aren't planning on making one of these, what does this teacher do in the first week of school, right? And then they link out to activities to share with you. And it's really nice to see everybody coming together and kind of helping each other out to navigate this, because it's really hard to get all these digital resources, but now everybody's offering them for you. So you might see that in the interactive classroom, there are a lot of things like that that are pretty exciting. So one of the activities that I thought was kind of neat, especially depending on your grade level, is you probably have seen this, and a lot of people are posting it because they've started school, but it was design your own virtual locker. And maybe even before you would ever do a Bitmoji classroom, or before you would show them, well, I don't know, as an educator in my classroom, as technology, this would be an activity that I would introduce the kids so they can learn how to sign into their account, open up an assignment, and learn how to use a lot of these tools, because the digital lockers is all about, you know, having somebody, because they don't have lockers this year, if they're home or they can't touch the locker, is that they can go and design their own locker or cubby, right? So you would teach the kids how to use certain tools. How do they insert clip art? If they're not allowed to use Bitmojis because they're young and they don't have one, most of them wouldn't, because you have to be 13 and over, mostly middle school and high school would. There are libraries people have made of different kids' Bitmojis, just so you can pick kids that look like them, so you can put it into their slide for them. Or they can get a clip art, or if you taught them how to make avatars by drawing them, they could put those in. But that was something I would do. I would model this, and then I would say, okay, now it's your turn. And I didn't want to go through the modeling process because I want you to be able to have this. So you probably see this everywhere. Now it caught on, and now a lot of the articles being written are showing how teachers and students are decorating their lockers and how they use images. How do I use images from Google? How do I use them safely? How do I find transparent images? How do I get ones that aren't copyrighted? And then, you know, they really don't have the text tool yet. Right now, they're expressing themselves. They're sharing who they are and things that they like. So the teacher might model that, the kids might work on that, and then you can come together and the kids could share theirs in a meet, or you know, you project it on the screen if you're in the classroom, and and that kid could share out about why they chose what they chose. And again, there's so many people doing them in so many different ways and remixing them, and then you have red lockers, and you have tons of colored lockers, and you have GIFs, moving images, and lots of different things. So that would be like an activity that I think I would start with kids to just kind of get them used to. Google tool of images and creativity and expression. And then later on, you can go into other types. So over here, I linked another activity that I have done. Oh, wrong one. I linked so many things that I'm trying to think of where I linked the boom board. What would I have picked for boom? Oh, on my to-do list, right. On my to-do list, see, you're gonna forget my fluency. This is an activity made in drawings, but you can make it in slides. Basically, it's inserting an image, writing a name, teacher directions, student directions that I put in the gray space, because a lot of these really, if you're not presenting and the kids are working, use that gray space and something to excite them. And in this lesson, not only would they kind of learn about how to use images from the web and so on, but now they would learn maybe text tools. Maybe I would show them how to use background remover tool in another website. Again, vetting those sources work in school, because things at school and home work differently, but usually it's pretty good. You would check that at school before you did this activity. But and then there's also links to drawing help, but I don't really need to, because I'm modeling for them. Like, well, okay, what is requirements? Share. It will say create a boom board, and you have 1 minute. You're going to speak on this topic. Share something you're passionate and fired up about. Something, a life hack you think others should know about, or something you think is super cool and fascinating. It must include your name, a minimum of 3 images, and then I would hope that they would remember how to use images, and then we talk more about text tools and adding, and then the art of presentation and design. And I've done this with my classes in the past, and they love this. And it's simple to make, but it's already made. Like, it's something you could just use. So then I might use that. And then another activity just to show, like, once our kids and myself, we get used to the tools, we get used to the tools in Google Slides, there are that Nadine Gilkison in Twitter that I referenced, she makes ridiculous amount of awesomeness. So she was in charge of helping her whole district in Indiana move to remote learning, but they were also kind of ready to do that because they get a lot of snow. So they were already approved to do like e-learning anyway. She gives you all these templates, and I know teachers sometimes, it depends on your workflow, some of you like to do separate assignments in today, and then you would put separate assignments. And then the kids would have to go in and turn in separate assignments, and that might still work for you. But there's also this idea of, what if I have this one assignment, but it has everything they need for the day? So even maybe at different times of the day, we go back to kind of like a notebook. So she would, put in like a little reading goal, and ask you to, change, format this. She might have a writing prompt for the day. Again, depending if it's like an independent or it's something that you were modeling about, using capitalization and when you're typing and periods and how that works. A math for the day, a video that went along, and maybe she's using something else to model, but here was the work. Science, maybe for the day or the week. Maybe they're not doing it that day, and maybe it's something for the week. I know our district wants different things, but for the youngins, it was more of like a week long that they were able to accomplish a lot of this with meetings to build skills. Something on simple machines, locating places on a map, videos all in one. Related services, which weren't necessarily the related services teachers doing any instruction, but it was something the kids could go to learn more about or have a little fun with. And when they were done with their assignment, before they turned it in, they would go through and make sure that they, with their parent, that they completed all those activities and, send that in. now the teacher's grading one notebook, and I know giving a lot of positive feedback's hard to when all the assignments, I mean, I feel bad for all the seesaw, right, notifications in a day, but you know, maybe that's for you. A lot of teachers are kind of turning to having these notebooks where everything that they need for that particular day is in there, and then the kids keep referencing back to that one assignment to complete at the different times. So that template is here for you as well. So she, you know, it's like, it's mind-blowing all the different things that are available. And that's how like we're taking like leveling up. So you teach them the image tools, you teach them the text tools, you start to teach them more tools, and then maybe now we're ready for like the interactive classroom that might, you know, link them out to some other things. So I wanted to see if this was the one because I forgot. Anyway, here's a different kindergarten classroom. You can see she just made her banner a Bitmoji, but here again, she has in Google Sites, you know, lots of different things for parents all in one spot. And that's what is kind of the link that's sent out in the Remind, the link that's in the classroom, and depending on how you want to navigate and you want to build your classroom and you know, the fluency of how it works, either through multiple assignments each day, one assignment where you're going to use this, so you know, it links, because we're not going to get into it today, but you can link your Google assignments now to your Google Classroom from here. So that's a new feature which we can talk about later at another time if people are interested in learning more about this, because I know a lot, but I like to give everybody the really big picture, and then I like you to like reflect on it and say, whoa, look at all this is possible. And I know we all have a lot on our plate, and we also teach like many different subjects.
We can't hear you. She's having some. Oh, you just pulled out my earbuds.
So anyway, all right. The Bitmoji Classroom. There are some resources here on the bottom also of a lot of the slides. So if it's not in there, I have taken what people have given us. So I've given you some, and there's plenty more here. I mean, if you click on almost any of this, you're going to see you know, weekly updates people put, like click here for our weekly update. And, you know, for some people, oh, that's Infinite Clones, but for some people, it's amazing because, you know, everything's in one spot. And for some, that might not work for you, the way your workflow is, the way you like to do the things. So I created a Wakelet, thousands of people have, but what I did with the Wakelet is I kind of try to find the best videos, even though, let me tell you, go to one of those Facebook groups and join, and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sidetracked. But of different videos. Oh my goodness. And, you know, things like how can you put a, you know, face mask on me? I mean, not that we really want one in our virtual room because we're going to be wearing one all day. I don't know how we're going to hear us, but, you know, people, they make all of this for you to use, you know, for you to take and use and remix and to show you. So I try to put some of the best types of things, people making, you know, their class photo. I can't even tell you what people share. Yes, it's overwhelming, but I try to take these same people that I mentioned and use them, and a couple of others that I thought if they did a nice, you know, very nice and easy explanation, not like fast talker like me, but I think I'm rushing through because I just want to show you a couple more things, and then and not keep you all day. All right. So that's a lot. There's a Bitmoji. People are making them. They are making websites to house them and to house information in conjunction with Google tools. That is all something that we as a tech team can do to help and support you. If that's something you want to do, and then on your own, you can look at these resources, because let me tell you, that's how we learn, like by all these people and their videos and in these groups, but also, you know, you can rely on us and say, you know what, can you do a nice like 101 Bitmoji, and by the time we're done, we all have one started classroom. That's up to you as well, but you have to kind of let us know. So, non-Bitmoji, reinventing the wheel. We don't need to, because the content we have to do and kind of output digitally takes so much time. And I know a lot of you can attest to that, you know that. But the same 3 people from Twitter, they do nothing but post amazing, amazing templates. So if you spend some time, maybe it's gonna rain and you get bored and you're like, I'm not Netflix saying I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna check out all these resources. You can see that this one alone has been my favorite for many years, but she has ridiculous templates on all different types of topics. And as soon as you click on one, it will make a copy into your folder, whether you want to use it or not, for you to look at, for you to remix, for you to change, and then you can assign, you know, or maybe you use it in your model and then you assign. I mean, I'm just saying is that some people have taken a lot of the content already and they have been able to, you know, in fun ways. Some of this might be too busy for you. Some of it might be fun for you and your students. And also you can remix to your needs and your class's needs and in order to do things. I wouldn't teach these kids how to do a screencastify and a Chatterpig all in one shot. This might be something that later on you build your lessons from, you know, simple to adding a little bit more and then learning a new tool, because to give these kids too many tools at first is a no-no, but they're going to want these tools because they are the alpha generation, right? The ones that are constantly on cell phones, the ones that click to get instant information, and they're going to want to find ways to be creative after they learn how to take in the information, process it, and then, you know, do that. But you can see just by a lot of the different topics here that she constantly updates this, and there are ridiculous notebooks even for different, and for me and Mike, we like these, Makey Nozobots, but you know, she'll teach you so many things. Her YouTube channel is ridiculous. It will probably go over every single one of these in different ways that she uses it. And that's not even, well, Alfred, I love you, but you need to remove yourself from the kitchen. Get a door, Lisa. This is her newest. It's kind of like the template design. And so what she does in here is she gives her own templates on guided reading and all the different ones that she's made or linked. So again, you might go, wait a minute, what's this guided reading one? You might, you know, click on it and it will bring you to see the mini lessons that she's created that she wants you to use and remix, and so many different things. So I'm trying to give you these 3 people, like instead of 50, these 3 people do the job of 50. So she will, you know, give you, already templates and lots of teacher directions, sometimes a video, and ask you to delete it, you know, before handing it to the kids, so that you can kind of use these templates for all different reasons. And it's endless, really, on what you could do. Again, she curates lots of things. I don't think I linked that one. I'll have to just double check. So, you know, if games, what people, I don't know either. Yeah, I'm feeling good today. Google Docs. If you prefer Google Docs, that's more of your go-to platform, and that's where you feel comfortable in designing and creating and making. Once again, there are these people who are sharing with you lots of different things to learn, but what's nice is they're also giving you templates. Ridiculous templates on, you know, here's some things you could do, and, you know, here's a template to show you what the AP World Mark, you know, I mean, and you could use that and remix it, and some of it you won't even have to. And now you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to sort through all of this info, but a lot of it could be really helpful, or it could be overwhelming and you're not ready for any of it. But maybe you start small and you say, oh, you know what, I like the book with the different layers, and then how can we build one, and then we add more to that one next time, and you add more, and then until the kids build a fluency, then we can add in other tools. And these, so I have that link in this one right in my drive. I'll link it before it goes out to you. I know Michael and Lauren have referenced this over and over again. Again, from History of Sandoval. And these are ridiculous templates. And, you know, I think some of it just is so mind-blowing and how fun and creative they are. And again, this might be, your type of thing. And it's nice because they'll go through like, why would you use this? Here's a video all about it. Get your own template. Here's an example. And then how kids use this template. How do they use, this? And they're giving you the examples that you see here with the topics that you see here. So these are just filled like chock full of nuts, right? Of templates that are just unreal. And I think, Michael and Lauren have done a couple of these with you guys, but again, they do tend to update them and being able to look at some of these and, talk about templates that are insane, especially for history. I mean, I'm going through it fast, but you're gonna have to spend some time because it's really cool. So I would say that there's a lot of this, and even this is like first week lessons. Again, this one isn't necessarily one you can keep, but if you were to go through it, it will give you, like this is where I got the Stephen Bloom board from. A while ago, I found this one, and this one was one of my favorite. And that one, I figured, oh, I'm totally gonna teach the kids how to do this. And, I made a copy and then used it. But there are all these templates in there that, people can use whenever, remix whenever. The secondary, curriculum-wise, I'm rusty on that. So I was hoping that History of Sandoval, she's unreal, and she makes the most incredible things. So not only just sometimes she just give it all to you in the topic, but sometimes she makes things and she'll, even, what do you call it? Just give you more templates. So she's like saying, when when you're designing, create these Forrest Gump moments or use this template and put things about it. And you could see just by like the images she uses and how she puts in really fun things in it. It's like really engaging. Again, something you and your students would get used to, baby stepping at like 1 or 2, and then you add one and you build them stronger. But some of these are also the kids learn on choice boards, and then they get to choose various things. But you could see it's just really amazing content in there, not just, engaging and appealing in visuals. It's really something to look at. And there's so many amazing ones, and you could spend a lot of time. Again, if you want to talk about ELA and secondary reading and writing, a lot of people go right on Twitter, post all their stuff. And it's not to get the likes, it's because they're in this boat together. And they will, go through things, they'll share. And usually there's always a video somewhere from someone who might explain it further if you wanted to do some learning on your own, or if that was something that you wanted us to do as a group with you and break it down into much smaller, simpler steps that scaffold for you. I'm just giving you the everything right now, but you can also see that there are tons of people who make these notebooks, and these notebooks, some of them are done, it's like here's some secondary. I know 4th grade in our class used, I think, a writer's notebook. Some people use these notebooks every day just to give the class their activities for the day. Some people give them, for whatever your need is. What you could see is that, even this notebook has all these templates and ways that you can use, different information or different activities, or collaborate, again, across your different classes. It's crazy. So some of these are real fun, and some are done, which is pretty interesting because, again, not a world history major. I'm doing some friends here, and we're talking about learning and how to make learning kind of fun. Are kind of done with different topics, and you can see already they have like the essential questions, and I mean, some of this is just an amazing resource. And let me tell you, if you just go to that group or you go to Twitter and you type in what you're looking for, usually you're going to find it right now because everybody's sharing all of that. The science one was kind of great too. I know we're going to wrap up because I'm taking a lot of your time and I'll ask for questions, but I just want you to know that this slide deck just has so much. So the kids can, decorate their notebook and hopefully they've learned how to use, it won't work because I need to make a copy, and they learn how to use clip art and get clip art and remove backgrounds and do it safely. And now that's like, go home and decorate your science notebook. And then, you know, this might be different things that you go over, you know, and then they link to lots of stuff. As far as science too, a little rusty, but people make a lot of awesomeness. And there are different templates for different grades, but remember, you can remix. Something else we do, the tech team, is we have been emailing digital tech tips and putting them on the website. I originally were doing Stewart Tech Tips for quite some time, and nobody's really ready for all of them. I mean, fourth grade liked some of it because they would use, you know, maybe the magnetic poetry and stuff. And some of these things are still great. And what they do is they link to activities. So if you're like, what? You can do a Fortnite activity, what is that? And what it does is it would give you a template to use and to help you create an activity with the kids, you know, game-like. And yeah, you can go, I know, go crazy with it. The kids would, but you know, if you're a big fan, there were some icebreakers I would send out, and our new one's coming out soon. I've been curating, but in a very easy four little things at a time. You know, on how to do, what do you call it? The Google template for, you know, teach like, I don't remember what this one was, internet pop quizzes with Google Slides. Anyway, you could take a quick look at it, but it's something with the word game with Jimmy Fallon, and there's so many, and they were good icebreakers. So I'm just saying is that our tech tips kind of house links to cool stuff as well. So in the past, and then last year I did up until March. So I'm just giving you that. And then I just kind of realized everybody needed tech tips, so I started to give just daily tech tips and kind of spreading that out. And now my new one, which isn't linked, is the Ed Techish Tips, and that will have links to classrooms, videos, what somebody's kindergarten first day was, just lots of like helpful tips, and that can be found on the website as well. So with that said, which was a lot, right? All right, templates, if you start to use the same one for a while, will build that fluency. So I gave you 1 million, but you don't need 1 million. Maybe you choose that one, and you know, slowly introduce a page, a 2-page, or so on to it, keeping it visual, but not so many clicks. That's a big problem. It's like the kids want to be able to like go to Google Classroom, boom, open their notebook, and everything there's for the day. Or go to Google Classroom and everything's there for the day. It really, you know your students best. You know how it went down last year. So you might want to say, I like the way we built a great fluency, or no, I want something new. I'm not sure how. Reach out to us because we are here for you. So the less clicks, and you know, the different ways that you can kind of assess them without making yourself so crazy with 10,000 notifications of everybody's done and then who's not done and who did it and who didn't do it. I mean, I know that's it. A lot of people use these 3 sites to make their own content with the Slide Carnival. I'm sure so many of you have seen it. A lot of these activities are actually using their free PowerPoint and free slide templates, from notebooks, blank, to calendars, to cool things. We all pretty much use it when we create some of our presentations. Some free ways that we can find images or text, which was supposed to be, I think, on a different slide, but that's okay. So you could check those out because they're free and they're cool, and a lot of those templates reference them. How we could use Joy Pixels or Bitmojis or Giphies, like Giphy, like you saw in the presentation. The extension, as you can see on my screen, they're here. So, you know, this will link you to the extension on how, and this will teach you how to use Bitmoji if you don't. Yes, you can go to the website, and yes, you can search for them, but literally if I go to, you know, Giphy, and I don't need to go anywhere else because I can, you know, search for my, hey, you know, oh gosh, I love him, and put it into my presentation if I needed something a little bit different without having too many clicks, something you really use for you as you're creating the stuff that you want your kids to do, not really for them because they could be inappropriate, and a lot of times we don't let them do all these extensions either. So there's a couple, different awesome fonts, and that's where this guy was supposed to be, was these fonts, because sometimes you might like to design in Google, and then you're like, oh, I miss, PowerPoint, and I get all the fonts in my computer. Well, I mean, there's so many here that you can use regular fonts. You can, put in, like I did, like Remix It, because I was looking for something to put with my Bitmoji, and you could see all of these. I mean, it goes on and on. Cool fonts. You might find one that you really love, and you might be able to, use that, and that's like your go-to for creating your slide. And some fonts even have math symbols in it, which is kind of neat because that's a whole nother tutorial. But again, she's amazing. Guided reading templates, math templates, her website, on Twitter. Sandoval, amazing. And if you go, like, let me show you. Okay, I go to Twitter today, and I go to my home feed, and I hit like this, like, read a quick like, right? All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, and it will be whatever I like, so that now when I go back to it, when I'm home and I'm like, all right, let me look at this further. I'm like, look at this. She made this digital passport. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And then I look at it, and she's like, oh, this is really cool. Or somebody might have remixed this and sent that out, and how they remixed it. And now I'm like, this is awesome. I can get this in my, Google account, and I could now remix it and use it to whatever I need to preview first, which is like what people do. So if you look at my likes today, I mean, it's insane. Like, people are putting, Bitmoji, distant, week at a glance templates. And even if that's just something you want to put in your custom, it doesn't even have to be Bitmoji. But maybe you like, the idea of having a week at a glance, or linking some of that to some activities. Again, a lot to consider, but you don't really need necessarily us, because if you follow those 3 Facebook and you follow those Twitter, and if you're not into Twitter, then follow those Facebook, they're gonna reference more and more people that are just gonna, again, reiterate slower and, more scaffold, all the things that I'm telling you on how to do and to make a lot of this. So again, maybe you like this and you're like, yeah, look at this. Somebody made this, and I can now go in and recreate it and use it with my students. And this works for me because I'm not reinventing the wheel. So with that said, this is every day. It's like, that's what I mean. I like it. Oh, look at this. What's this? And then I go, I take a further look. It's mostly all these templates, so that, when I do go into my drive and I'm like looking at my drive, which I need to organize now, because I probably only have about like 1,000 or something templates just from today. There are, all of these templates in my drive, which you're not seeing because I have it on the view, but, and all of these templates on my drive, on icebreakers and, challenges, and, and this is the stuff that we curate and we kind of put in the tech tips. So we might email like, oh, we found this, get it. Or we try to keep the tech tips up to date on the site too, so that you guys can go, oh, what's up lately? Like, what's new? And honestly, we try to break it down a little bit more. But there's, more teachers with awesome websites. But there's a lot to look at. So I really am just going to go back to the beginning before I end this, is just to let you know that even though there was so much that I said today, these 3 people are amazing curators of templates that you can remix. Just them alone will give you a lot, and I've linked a lot here. You can look in my Bitmoji classroom for many different others. If you join these Facebook groups, you're going to be inundated with unreal templates that you click and goes into your drive. And not always just Bitmoji. Now people are getting back into school, so they are sharing their lessons now, and then how do they use that in CSWAR? How do they use that in Google? And how do they use it with 3rd grade, and so on. So, we're in this bumpy road, but you know, I feel like I rely on my tech team so much for support for many reasons, and I rely on the staff. And I feel like when I say this all the time, when I started in Garden City 20-some years ago, I was like, I worked at the Harvard of elementary schools and the Harvard of, you know, the district, because I've never met so many loving, caring, dedicated, helpful people. And I just feel like in this time, it's sometimes you feel lonely and you feel stressed out. And I feel like we don't need to be, because I think, you know, you guys as a team, you know, your teams work great together. We are here to help and support you any way we can, even if you're like, I need a lesson. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, and they go, how do you find it? Oh, I don't know. I love looking for it. It's like a scavenger hunt for me. So I'm sorry, I'm like an Irish storyteller, you know, but if anyone wants to, I know I took you a little long and I apologize, but if anybody, and I don't know if Michael was manning the questions in the thing, or you want to shout out, or did I make your head explode with all the information? But I just want to let you know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Remix it, you know, look for, you know, one topic at a time, and, you know, this, and not everything has to be this interactive. It's like the classroom. We try to bring in what we can when we can, but, you know, everything can't be all of it at once. All right, questions, or Michael or Lauren?
No, I pretty much got most of the chat.
I handled most of it. I'm going to stop the recording if that's okay, just because I do have to jump on another
Yeah.
call in a moment.
Do it.
So
Do it.
Sure.
I'm going to stop that.
Thank you.